Wow, I'm gonna be using this video as a role model for clients. How about that?
There you go. There you go.
Welcome back to Emphasis Tech Talks, the podcast for business leaders leveraging cutting-edge technology to raise their bottom lines. I'm your host, David Clausen of Emphasis Tech. Our guest today is Sam Thigpen, CEO at Sapphire Gas Solutions. Today we talk about the value of starting small and building value with real and measurable ROI. And stick around to learn about Sam's team's new AI initiative. So Sam, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate that. You know, our audience is all kinds of business owners, and they're trying to learn more about how to leverage technology to drive their bottom line. So in that vein, let's talk a little bit about implementing tech and how to get the buy-in from the team. So how important is that to get buy-in from the team about the technology that you're going to use and bringing them along with that new innovation, whatever that might be?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks, David. Thanks for having me here as well. The buy-in from the team is very important. When you're going to put technology in any business, you've got to get, there's going to be a ton of users for that technology, right? So getting the technology that the team adopts and supports is going to be really critical for sure. They're going to be the ones that are using it, and so they've got to be comfortable going through that change management.
So Sam, can you tell us of an example where maybe implementing technology didn't go quite as well as maybe you expected, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so we actually implemented some technology. We implemented was a transportation management system. That's a great example of some tech that we put into our business. We run our own internal trucking fleet here at Sapphire, and we have our own internal drivers, and so we implemented a transportation management system to better automate the load acquisition, the load dispatch, and then closing out those loads once they were delivered. And what we found in that implementation is we thought we could implement it kind of out of the box in a base implementation and be much better than what we have. But then we found out, obviously, that not doing the full implementation left us without a lot of the connection points that we needed to really make a real impact in our business. So we've gone back and done that full implementation, and now we're starting to see a lot more value out of that technology for sure.
Yeah, that's some great insights. So to our audience, be sure and go and like and subscribe. That will make sure that you get notified of new podcasts that are coming up, when you can learn more from business leaders like Sam here. So appreciate you guys doing that and staying in touch with us. That's really important. Sam, what about bringing on new talent? So obviously in certain specialty areas, there's a crunch in trying to get the labor today and to get the workforce in place that you need. How do you manage that aspect of bringing on staff and new resources and skill sets?
Yeah, over the last couple of years, as we've grown a lot faster and a lot bigger, one of the things that we did last year to make a change and help our recruiting and bringing in talent is we actually hired an internal recruiter. So we actually have somebody full-time that works in our human resources department, that their constant job is looking for talent all over the country and keeping track of resumes, or keeping track of folks that maybe expressed interest in coming to work here, but maybe they're just not ready, or they're thinking about making a job move. So, we've seen a huge improvement in our talent acquisition through that one change. Prior to that, and we still use job postings and things like that, but I would say prior to bringing somebody on that could dedicate themselves to that full time, it was a lot more of a challenge for sure. Talent's hard to come by these days, especially for high skilled talent. So I think what that does is it also gives that talent acquisition a little bit more of a personal touch, right? So now we've got somebody that's constantly talking in person, either over the phone or actually in person with potential folks that want to come to work here. And they get to know our business a lot more than just reading it on the internet or reading a job posting. I think that's been a huge help for our business for sure.
That's interesting you bring that up. I actually was in a conversation this morning with someone about that very topic. And, we were talking about the AI. So there's a lot of groups out there pushing to use AI for their recruiting. And some of the pushback we're seeing, oddly enough, even from the tech recruits or the tech candidates, is that that's a very non-personable kind of way to do that. So, that sounds like a little bit of an odd situation in that, here are tech people that are often introverts and used to working with machines and computers, and they're pushing back on that. So that's very interesting, and it sounds like you're kind of ahead of the game there with your recruiter being on board.
Yeah, David, that is interesting that you hear that, especially from the tech community. I've built this business on the personal touch ever since day one, and I just think that if you're going to build a solid organization and you want your teams to work together, they've got to have a relationship, right? There's got to be a personal connection there, and we're not a tech heavy business. We're not a tech company. We're very much out in the field and working all over the country. But yeah, I definitely see where that personal touch goes a long way, and people are still people. They want to feel like they matter, right? And so just having a bot talk to you over the phone and take a bunch of information and turn it into a spreadsheet probably isn't the most effective way.
Yeah. Well, it is on a personal note. One of the things that I don't like doing, I don't like talking to computers. So you won't find me using any of the voice technology. I know that's been a big win for some companies, and it may be in the right implementation, but it's not my preferred way of communicating. I'll put it that way.
For sure.
So, what are some of the differentiators between you and your competitors, and how does technology play into that?
Yeah, for the folks that listen in and hear this, I won't go too deep into all the particulars about what we do because it'd probably put people to sleep. But a couple of big differentiators. So we deal in liquefied and compressed and renewable natural gas. So we put it in trailers. We deliver it to end users when they can't get energy, and so we bring what we call a virtual pipeline of natural gas to them. And that actually, the fact that we do that for all three types of natural gas compositions is a big differentiator for us. So when we start talking about now, we've got a cryogenic liquid that we're delivering, and then we have we have two different types of high pressure gas that we're delivering. Technology plays a huge role in that because the way we monitor the equipment, the flow rates, the pressures, the temperatures in a cryogenic manner is totally different than what we're doing in a high pressure, non-cryogenic manner. So we're constantly working with technology providers, whether it's for instrumentation for our equipment or data analytics internally and how we can manage and crunch that data to make business decisions. Tech is huge. It's a big part of our everyday.
And that's of course, it's a critical component for a lot of organizations. And that's interesting. I'm kind of thinking back to an earlier podcast we did where we talked to some packaging folks that were doing very similar things and that they were monitoring the temperature of the packaged products throughout the transportation cycle. So how are you using technology to help just improve the overall performance of your organization?
Yeah, so We've got a few different ways. I would say the biggest thing for us, and it's a project that we're really just kind of starting to see the benefits of over this past year. We've started to integrate a lot of our systems. So here's a good example. We have a health and safety system and software where we keep up with training and we keep up with daily activities and a lot of our regulatory things. And all of our systems were really standalone. So we have a safety system and an HR system, accounting, and then we have an operational system and project management. And so we did a big undertaking of integrating all of those into usable, consumable data, things we can make decisions off of. And what was interesting for us is Power BI became a huge platform for us and a very powerful tool for us to be able to take data and information from all over the business and put it into one consumable place. And so then that turns into now the technology that we have in the field, the actual hardware that's moving this data into our office. We've been updating that. We're actually in a year-long program of updating all of that hardware this year as well, because we want faster, better, more accurate, and we want things that we can make better decisions off of. And so we've got some pretty big technology programs that are going on, and we've got a pretty sizable number in our CapEx budget this year for technology.
Yeah, wow. Well, it sounds like you're ahead of a lot of folks when it comes to collecting that data and making good use of it. So hats off to you and your team, for accomplishing that. But I like the fact that you're taking what sounds like a little bit of an iterative approach in that you got data, you worked with it, you seen where there was some room for improvement, both from the way that it's delivered and from the quality and so forth. So you're making use of what you've got, and then you're improving on it. So that's excellent to hear that you've made those strides.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, David. And you're exactly right. That's exactly the approach we took. We've had to stair step this a little more than we wanted to. You wish you could just snap your fingers and then everything's in place and it all works. And technology doesn't work like that. So some growing pains that go along with it, but we're getting there. So yeah.
Yeah. So let me dive just a little bit deeper with you on that, because if you were to sit down and look at if you were able to put out a roadmap on day one when you started thinking about that, after you saw the data that you had, so you got to the step where you're at today, did some things change? Did some of your ideas and concepts change in what you're now looking to deliver in this next iteration?
They have. Yeah, that's a great question, David. So when we sat down and talked about, data acquisition for our equipment and our process in the field and how we get that back to our office and how we make decisions with that, we started that process with taking a ton of I/O points, a ton of hardware, putting it into different types of devices in the field that then transmit data back. And we looked at kind of the historian and the calculations being done kind of off-site sometimes, just depending on what it was. If it was not critical and it was just things that we wanted to maybe report off of. One of the things that's changed recently, probably in the last 6 months, is we're looking at things like more edge computing today in our field, where we're putting more power out into the field, and then that's giving a more efficient stream of data to then move around where we need it to go. And I'm not the IT expert to explain all the things and how that works, but I do understand that it makes things more efficient for the way we want to move data. And so that was a change in our thinking to think about this edge computing as something that was actually a benefit for us.
And was that change somewhat driven by the data that you saw in your first iteration? Was that part of that decision-making process?
Yeah, I would say yes. I would say all companies do this. They go through some point in time. They go from pen and paper to something electronic, and then they start to have data. And then as you get data, now you want more data and you want to do things, do more things with it. And so I think you're exactly right. We started to see what we had, and that opened ideas up for what we could do with that, or how we could do more. And that's when we started to realize we needed a better and more efficient way of moving bigger amounts of data and having it more consumable. So it definitely was the iteration that kind of highlighted that for us.
Well, so one of the reasons that I kind of dove into that is that's one of the things we keep trying to drive home to our clients is, get value out of what you have today, and know that you're going to have some learnings from that, and then you're going to want to change that. So I see a lot of organizations that they try to put together a big, long requirements list, and then they want to just go build that, and they look at it as kind of a one-time effort. And I think what you experienced is what I see a lot, and that is where they go through that initial effort, then they have some learnings from that, and there's new technologies that come about. There's new information that develops, new opportunities. The business changes. All of those things happen that then make you go do another iteration. And so I think that just needs to be in the plan up front, right? That you're going to go get some basic information or whatever it is that you have now, and at least have that available for your current decision making and approve on it. And just know that you're going to have iterations of that.
Yeah, and I think a big piece of that is I think it makes it more manageable taking that approach as well, right? If you look at this from a stair-step process, and it's a lot easier to get up one step at a time than it is to get up 4 or 5. And so I think on anything that's a technology change, right, a major shift in a business that's technology related, I think taking it in bites that are very consumable, that you can get done well, and then take what you have and build on that, versus doing 100 different things okay, and then finding out you've got a lot of gaps later that you've got to go back and fill in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. I sign on to that 100%. Well, I'm gonna be using this video as a role model for clients. How about that?
There you go. There you go.
So what about external data? So what you've talked a little bit about data that you're collecting from your equipment, that you're monitoring about your product and so forth. But what about third-party data? I'm sure obviously weather data, but even beyond that, how do you determine what external data to use? And are there any tips that you can give to our audience about how to acquire that or partner with data companies?
Yeah, we do have some third-party data that's important. You mentioned weather. I'm glad you did. That's a key part for us. I mean, we provide our service into constrained areas in the wintertime. So if it's going to be cold or a cold storm come through, we need to have some predictive analytics around what we think that's going to look like, because we've got to prepare for that. So we're actually working with a weather company out of Florida, and they have talking about AI. They've found some ways to incorporate some generative AI learning in their predictive patterns for weather that really kind of fit our business. And this is all very new. We just started these conversations, so we don't know exactly where that's going to go, but it's very exciting because we may have a little bit better than just looking at an extended forecast. We may have some ability to really see some granular details as these weather events get closer. So that's one of them. Another thing that we always look at the commodities markets. That's something for us. We're moving a lot of natural gas, and we buy it and resell it. And so the commodities data has been a little bit of a challenge for us, and not necessarily where to get it. We can get the commodities data. It's been a little bit of a challenge on how how to build our internal systems to take what's effectively live data that's changing or updating at least every day, and put that in the proper formats and places and distribute that as needed. But that's definitely something that's important for our business. And so those are kind of two of the initiatives we're working on right now is weather and commodities data, to give us a more real-time look, just instantaneous, about what's going to happen with our business.
And that's interesting. Of course, that kind of brings me to the whole AI question.
Yeah.
Right. So we, in this day and age, and since we've been doing the podcast, we have been throwing in the AI question. Everyone has to answer at least one. So what's your thoughts about AI and how that might impact your business? Are you using it already, or are you planning to use it? Or is that just, in the future, nice to have down the road kind of thing?
Yeah. So we're not using AI today for business decisions. We are using some AI to kind of test the theory. What can it do for us? But we're not implementing that yet and actually using it, and in a very small dose, I might add, right now. But we are looking to put AI into our business in a lot bigger way. It is definitely part of our strategic initiatives to put AI in. So, some of the things that we've looked at from an AI standpoint, they're fascinating to me because, again, I'm not the tech guy, but I sit in on some seminars, and our IT director helps kind of educate me or make me dangerous anyway. But some of the things we've looked at is we can have video of our job sites where they're manned with people. We could have video that streams into our system, and AI can help make decisions around, say, if a person falls on a job site. We could actually pick that up, and AI could tell us that somebody has just recently tripped or fallen on a job site. We can actually, it's kind of interesting, we brainstormed with a theory of, we can monitor people's body temperatures when we work in the heat or in the cold a lot. And, body temperature monitoring could then trigger alerts and things like that. So those are things that are probably pretty basic from the AI standpoint, but they're not basic to me. It's very interesting that we could have this type of information. But the one I think is the most exciting is using AI to effectively schedule and plan our logistics and transportation. That one I think makes the biggest sense for us. It's a very manual process to contact a customer, get their expected needs for the next 5 to 7 days, put that into a spreadsheet, and then take these 60 or 80 customers and try to build this load plan, because now I've got to get LNG or CNG from maybe 20 or 30 different places around the country. And that's a very manual process today. And we've recently talked to a company that's based in California that can actually automate through AI, getting that information and building that plan. So now my dispatch actually has a plan weekly that they can order loads from, they can order fuel, they can dispatch drivers. And so huge time savings there. And it's not for us to get rid of the folks that we have in dispatch, just to make them more effective and give them a better plan from which to work.
Yeah, and be able to deploy your resources more effectively.
That's right. That's right.
And yeah. So, even some time ago, a lot of oil and gas companies started using, AI to try to determine maintenance schedules, be able to read some of the IoT data off of compressors and that sort of thing to know when to go in and replace parts, bearings, or whatever. And that helped them reduce the mileage, so they could plan for someone to go out to a particular location once and, be there for a longer period of time, handling several things at once rather than, multiple trips.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what I'm hearing, kind of a little nuance of that type of logic to help you with your resource deployment as well.
Yeah, you're spot on, and we could even, but we haven't thought through the maintenance planning using AI, but that absolutely would fit our business as well. Again, going back to kind of taking steps, right? We want to pick a project and we want to make it work, and then that's going to open the door for us to do a lot of things. And we're sponsored by private equity. We've got investment dollars in behind the business, and internally at the sponsorship level, they're very very interested in how we can put AI into our business, and other portfolio companies they have as well, because it can create so much value if it's done the right way. And but that's why we're looking for one or two specific projects where we can look at a specific outcome and then quantify the return on that investment. That's going to be the key. We're very leery of getting into a lot of technology implementations or changes that we can't really quantify what that ROI is going to be, and we want to see a real number. And I think if I can take 4 or 5 logistics coordinators and save 10 or 15 hours a week on all 4 or 5 of them, now I can quantify that and say, now they're not having to spend their 10 hours doing that and then spend 40 hours dispatching. They can spend 40 or 50 hours just dispatching. That means I move more product, and that's a quantitative look at the ROI.
Right, and yeah. So I did hear that in your response, that you're taking that iterative approach here again. So that's just a style of the way that you work, and that's the way that's what we recommend to our clients as well. Is don't try to go out and change the world with AI on day one, and oh, by the way, don't turn it loose to automate your processes without vetting
Yeah,
it and
yeah,
testing it for a long while,
yeah.
that kind of thing. So, yeah, sounds like you've got a real good handle on that. I really like the way that you approach your projects, and would recommend the same approach to all of those listening to the podcast here as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate the feedback, and it's always good for us to have these types of conversations too, because we're stuck in the throes of this every day. We think we're doing it the right way, but it's always good to get a little refresher on what is a good approach here, and especially when it comes to technology. And I think it's really good.
Yeah, and frankly, that's one of the reasons I like consulting so much. So I get to see the way that different projects are implemented, and the way technology is being approached from a number of different angles, number of different industries. Our team gets that advantage as well. And, so I'll just also throw this out for the audience. If you have any questions for us about any of this and how to approach your projects in a more scaled manner and successful way, like Sam and his team has done, be sure and reach out to us. LinkedIn's a great way to contact me, and we'll be sure to make that connection and help you out, and make sure you have a successful run at your implementation. So, Sam, are you also pulling off some of the other carbons as well? Some of the butane and propanes in your natural gas, or are you just pulling the straight natural gas?
Yeah, no, good question. No, it's just a straight regular pipeline quality natural gas. When it's on our compressed side. The renewable natural gas, we source that from dairy farms or landfills, two primary sources for renewable natural gas, and we either transport that for the developer and get it to the pipeline for them, or we actually will take that and consume it in our projects. And then the liquid natural gas is 99+% methane, because it is cryogenic. So all of that, stripping all those heavies out, have been done prior to us taking delivery of that.
So, Sam, tell our audience how they can stay in touch with what you're doing, and all the new work that you're doing there at Sapphire Gas. How can they keep track of what's going on there?
Yeah. So as you mentioned earlier, LinkedIn is a great way to keep up with us. We've got a great LinkedIn presence for Sapphire Gas Solutions. You can go on there. We try to make sure that's updated, and you can connect with folks in our organization if you're looking for somebody specific. Most everybody has a good LinkedIn profile that's up to date. You can go to our website, sapphiregassolutions.com. It's got a contact us page. It's a couple of little drop downs, so you can point your contact to the right person. And Instagram, we have an Instagram as well where we try to post some of our project pictures when we can, when it's allowed. We like people to be able to see what we do. What we do is very interesting and new to a lot of people. So once you actually get to see it in action, it helps make a lot more sense for sure.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Sam. Appreciate you coming on, doing this with us, and providing all this great advice to our audience. I know that they've learned something today, so appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, David, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it, and it's great talking with you.
To the audience, stay in touch. Watch for upcoming podcasts. We'll see you then.